So today, the course is actually about planning for the last leg of retirement. Okay, when I say the last leg of retirement, I mean between the ages of 70 to 100 years old. Like some of us who've been through training, we only learn how to save enough money just until they're 65, right? And then we tell them, oh, you're going to pass away at 85. Why do we do that? Oh, they're going to pass away at 85? Yeah, maybe. Who knows, right? I wanted to bring this to your attention because I now work as a community sales director at a seniors community, senior living community. Okay. It's not a nursing home, but it's kind of like the place before a nursing home, if you will. And I've seen things that I never knew. And the only reason I know now is from working there. And I feel like this information needs to be shared with everybody. So this is why I'm bringing this to you, because I think it's going to help you. I think it's going to help you in your business, but it's going to help you too, like you as people, you and your parents. If you're in retirement right now, you in retirement. Okay. So welcome to this mini course. I'm not going to take the entire afternoon. The goal is less than an hour. But we're going to talk about why planning for ages 70 to 100 is critical. We only kind of, like I said, work towards helping them save up to 65. And we kind of say, you have enough money, right? And they tell us how much they need, which is interesting because how do they know? The overlooked cost of home care and supportive living. This is stuff that we don't know as advisors. And only if you've helped some loved one find a place like assisted living or a nursing home or long-term care would you know what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm learning this just from working where I'm working. I'm gonna show you some new strategies, things that you haven't seen before, or maybe even thought of before. And for new advisors, I don't know if you guys feel comfortable, but who would consider themselves a new advisor, like less than a year? Anybody? Yeah, Laverne. Okay, cool, awesome. Current advisors need to know this too. I'm a 25-year veteran in the financial industry, and I didn't know this stuff before I started working here at my job. Okay, so you guys have a real advantage being here today. I promise you guys have a real advantage being here today. So this is what we do right now. When we help them find their independence number, for those of you guys know that term, or the magical number they need to save for retirement, we kind of decide, hey, you're going to save this much money until you're 65, and then you're going to retire. But what we don't really take into account is that between maybe ages 60, 65 to maybe 75, yeah, they're in this what we call the go-go phase, right? They're traveling, they're golfing, they're doing all the things that they wanted to do in retirement. But over time, whether we want to believe it or not, we get older, things decline. Our body declines, our cognitive thinking declines. We need more help. And that's just the way our life goes. And I don't mean to put a damper on this, guys, but I've seen it. We don't think about that as their advisor, and they are not thinking about it, right? And so I wanted to kind of point out the obvious. So the way we help people save for the retirement is definitely lower than what they should be expecting. If you look at this graph here, we're looking at what we as advisors help them plan to save and what they're actually going to need between the ages of 70 and 100. We always save till 65 and assume they're going to die at 85. What if you live till 99 or 100, which I've seen, right? I would much rather have too much money when I pass away than not enough money and not pass away. Does that make sense? And so I just wanted to bring this to the surface for you because as advisors, hopefully you're thinking more long-term for your families, for the clients that you help. We don't think about the rising costs of healthcare and supportive living. And right now, we're seeing more and more seniors living a lot longer with technology, medication, things that help them live longer. But this stuff costs money. When you take a look at what kind of costs you could expect at this age, we're talking like if you just want home care, this is the kind of cost you can expect. Forget about food, utilities, forget about that stuff. So this is the kind of things we need to kind of pay attention to, knowing that they're not just going to retire at 65 and die at 85. What if they live till they're 100? Being in the work that I work in now, it's really opened up my eyes to how time is short. I see a lot of problems that seniors have with certain health issues. I've seen it all, like all. And it breaks my heart. And I live in, I work in a place where you have to have money to live there. And it breaks my heart when I tell them how much it is to live there, and they're like, I can't afford that. And so now we're relying on subsidized places that there's 3 to 5 years waiting lists for them to be at to get this kind of care. In fact, with inflation, we're all very familiar with inflation. Inflation is going to affect this dramatically. Over the next 30 years, the importance of helping people save save for the ages of 70 to 100 is even more important. So those of you guys who are not in Alberta, I can't imagine this being there very much different, but I can only speak on behalf of Alberta. There is a senior housing crisis. We have limited senior housing. So therefore, if we have people that can't afford the private places, they're needing to go subsidized and they're waiting. The cost of supported living is putting a strain on the Alberta healthcare system. So a lot of people don't understand how the Alberta healthcare system works. If you wanted to talk about that offline, we could totally talk about that, but how does it work for seniors? And then, of course, as we all help middle-income families, this is going to impact middle-income families. Middle-income families are getting closer and closer to low income because they're not prepared properly. And you guys are doing a great job of helping them see that. Right, but now we're taking care of not just them here, not just them there at 65, but all the way till the end of life. And we need to prepare them and their families for these costs. And these are the challenges. There's not enough funding in government. And I don't know about you guys, but before I even learned about all this information, I actually thought the government would take care of all my medication and stuff like that. Like, and again, it's like people thinking, when I retire, I'll have enough, and they have no idea what enough is. They have no idea what Canada Pension Plan is. But to, yeah, I have enough, I have a good job, and that's all they say. Well, that's the same goes for like growing and growing old. Okay, like the government's not going to help us. There's more of a need to save ourselves, especially for those years of 70 to 100. And there's a lot more out-of-pocket expenses for seniors nowadays. If we looked at, kind of how we were, like the demand versus the supply, there's a lot more seniors in that gap or in that age range between 70 and 100. And there's less planning for that. There's less planning for that. And this is where we have to teach and inspire and educate the people that we already help to see this. Now, I don't want this to be about doom and gloom and like, and you've heard these people say, well, I'm going to die anyways, right? Like, if anything, the fact that you know this, I hope it gives you more inspiration on how to maybe wrap your arms a lot tighter around your clients. That's really the intent of this program, this webinar. We need to start building a lot longer term vision for our clients, like not just till they're 65. We have to start thinking about what if they live till 100. I had somebody at my community turn 100, and he was still like, he was still in knitting club. He participated in everything. He was wheelchair bound, but his like mind was there, and he's still 100. He turned 100 in my community, had to go to palliative care, and he's still participating in activities. So that is the reality. And I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing for people or a bad thing. I think it's a blessing to be able to live that long and still have life. But it costs money to be in safe places. Okay. And we've already talked stuff like insurance products. We have the ability to use permanent insurance products to not only show them that they're going to build wealth, but how do we show them between the ages of 75 and 100 how to use this insurance cash value? Maybe we should be thinking along those terms instead of saying, yeah, take out all your money at 65 and go on a trip. You know what I mean? Right? We know that it's going to benefit them. We can't travel forever for a lot of people who are retiring now. They can't travel forever. I mean, physically, right? So we need to self-save for tomorrow's inevitable, because it is inevitable. So how do we plan for the last leg of retirement? We've always kind of worked towards saving up till they're 65, right? We have this calculator that kind of figures out how much do I need when I'm 65? This is what I should need. And I think the worst thing that we could do is ask the client. We might try to prompt them to kind of like picture how much they might need. And sometimes they give us accurate views. But I would say by leaving it to their idea of how much they need is kind of not good, because they sometimes, most times, don't know. Right? I mean, how many times have you asked a client, how much is your minimum payment on your credit card? And they're like, oh, I don't know. When they look through their statements, like, if they don't know that, how do they know how much money they're going to need in retirement? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. So we have this go-go phase. We need a certain amount of money so that they can have the go-go phase of a lifetime. But then after age 75, or whatever age you choose to make them, slow go phase, that's what we're going to call it, age 75 to 100 in this example, they actually need $2.3 million. So they need $733 million by the time they're 65 to have 10 years of go-go. And they need $2.3 million for another 25 years after that, assuming they live till 100. But what we've been doing up until this point is we've been figuring out how much money they need just until they're 65, and that's at 1.9 million. So if you actually add up the 733 and the 2.3 million, you actually get 3 million, not 1.9 million. So we're short for the client if they live till 100. Where do I get these numbers? Well, I took into account how much it would cost for a senior citizen to live in a place that I work at. That's what I'm doing. I'm thinking for them because they have no idea. And I'm going to explain it to them too. We also want to plan for flexibility and withdrawals in their investments. We don't want to just talk about, this is how much money I'm going to make you. We're going to show them, hey, this is how much money you should be taking out every year so that you can afford this. This is just an example. I realize there's an error here, so let's say that we sit down with Irene, and I have a lira with BMO, and I have 220,000. I know that you can't put monthly income into, or so you can't contribute to a lira. I just realized that mistake now. So let's just pretend it's like RSP, okay? $200 into this RSP. I keep it at the bank. Maybe 5% would be the best I can see. You can see that I'm okay by the time I'm 65. I'm 124% of my target if I stick to this $200 a month contribution. But in the slow go phase, I'm only 40% there, and total, I'm only 30% there. So I'm not just aiming towards 65, guys. I'm aiming towards the rest of the retirement. I know I'm saying that over and over again, but I need you to understand there's a difference between the two types of retirement. So let's say I even get them better investments through Beneva. Same thing. You can see here that to get them to 100%, having $3 million, enough saved so that they can live till 100 years old comfortably, I would have to tell Irene, you need to find a way to save $1,300 monthly, just so you can have enough money. Yeah, you're going to be super comfortable when you turn 65 because you're 414% of your target there. But the entire, for the rest of your life to get to 100%, 1,350. Now, that's a lot of money for a lot of people. I get that. But you guys have seen this before, right? We just have to start them somewhere. I just needed to get your minds wrapped around the fact that in order to, again, really properly help our clients beyond the age of 75 and over, that we have to think that way. We have to know what numbers are involved. So this is it. We need to shift from short term, right? Just the 65 to 75 go-go phase to long-term, right? Till 100. We need to know some of these things that cost money, or get some information about how the Alberta health system works with the seniors, the Alberta senior housing crisis, what that is. I'm sure it exists in BC and Ontario. And then we have to also plan our withdrawals for our clients. Right, there's this calculator on Empire's website, one of the the companies that I use. And it's a very like eye-opening scenario. Like if you threw in how much money, if I had $568,000 at age 65, how much money or how long will that will last? And that's going to last 10 years. Like we can find all these tools, rate of return. Like I made a mistake here, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like it's still a lot more years if you saved enough money. And I mean, people don't realize that until they see things like this. It sounds weird. It really sounds weird. They only see a lump sum of money. They don't see how, well, how much is that going to last me? How much is that going to last me? I have people who live and move into my community and they're like, I can't last here very long. I had a client that moved into our community. No word of a lie, she's leaving because she can't afford to live there anymore. But how sad is that? Now she has to wait for subsidized because she can't afford to live where she wanted to live. So we need to understand to plan the withdrawals in retirement, not just plan the savings for retirement. And we also need to introduce the client to the idea of running out of money. I don't know if you've ever spoken in those terms, but people will run out of money if they don't have enough saved. One last thing, and you guys, some of you guys know me really well, but I think one of the biggest things that we need to do to make this work for clients is creating an idea around cash flow management, aka budgeting. Okay. So let's put this into perspective. Okay. I know that some of us don't want to do it because it doesn't pay me and it's too much time, but you only have to do it once really for the client. You really do, because hopefully they look at the numbers because they're looking at their numbers and you only have to do it once. But think about it this way. Do you think that once someone retires and stops earning a living and stops earning income, that all of a sudden they're just going to change their spending habits? They're not. They're not going to change their spending habits, but they're earning less money because they're not working anymore. So we need to kind of condition our clients now to open up their eyes to the fact that overspending means debt. You're spending more than you earn. It's just the reality. We're not making a judgment call, but we want to be able to try to carve out money from our client's budget to save for this. Even if it's little, right? We need to bring that to the surface for them. They don't know. So before I kind of like go into the second part, guys, I haven't looked at the chat, so I'm going to go there now. Build a new, yeah, that's right. Yes, Jana, yes. When they're on a waiting list, you know how many people call, and really it is about the kids. They're, what do they call it? Caregiver burnout. And it's not that they feel like their parents are a burden, but I always tell the people that, you know, are interested in living in my community, when you can hear their voice, I know what they're feeling. I just want mom to be safe. She's alone, right? Like I go there whenever I can. I bring food to her, but she's still alone. There's stairs in her place. She might fall. I had people that lived on their main floor because they couldn't climb up the stairs. They had their bed in their dining room because they couldn't climb up the stairs. Their kids are bringing them food, right? But what if their kids want to go on vacation? Who's going to take care of dropping in on mom or dad? So it's a real thing, right? In the community that I work in, sorry, I live in the community that I work in, our community is, now this isn't a plug for my community, but just so you know, for those of you guys in the Edmonton area, if you ever want to do a tour, I would love to show you around. It will give you more insight as to how retirement living could look like. But it's all inclusive. So they get an apartment, depending on the size of their apartment, they get an apartment. Their utilities are all taken care of. They get 3 meals a day, which is table service. They get transportation. So there's a community bus that will take them to their essential appointments, because some seniors don't drive anymore or they rely on their kids to bring them to doctor's appointments. Like I said, all the utilities are included and they get housekeeping once a week. Okay. Now, this is kind of like, I want to say like an all-inclusive vacation for the rest of your life. That's how I I bring it up to the seniors, right? And the kids just want their parents to be safe. That's really what it is. They just want their parents to be safe, and they want to know peace of mind, like that, mom or dad's not going to be alone. That's a lot. A lot of widows, widowers, they're alone. They don't care if they have bag of chips for dinner, because they don't have to cook for anybody. So they notice mom and dad getting skinnier. Their house is kind of in disarray. No one's cleaning it. Right? These are the kinds of places that you wouldn't go straight to a nursing home, but this is the kind of place that you would go in transition to that time. So when I started working at Churchill Manor, which is here in Mill Woods, I was blown away, and it really got me thinking about how I know at this point in my life, at the rate I'm going, I'm not going to be able to afford this place. And that's when I start to think about how we as advisors have a real opportunity to bring this to the surface. And I think you guys probably agree, but nobody is doing it this way. Nobody is looking at it this way.